Hello health seekers, if you found my video today, it's most likely because you too experience your fair share of crazy symptoms while dealing with chronic illness. Today I will go over some of the strangest symptoms that I have had over the years, but I need to remind you that I am not a medical expert, so if you have concerns or questions about your own situations, please seek the help of a trusted medical professional. Also, to give you an update, last week I was feeling pretty crappy, and because of it, I kind of stopped taking everything I was on in order to help me detox the mold that I have in my body. I did have a consult with my naturopath this week, and she told me that I need to continue a little bit longer, and my dosage was probably too high, which was making me just detox too fast and feel horrible. So I will start up again in a few days, but today I feel pretty good. I would call this a normal day for me, and yeah, so I'll give you some more updates on that once I complete the mold detox process to let you know if I'm actually feeling better. So going back to all the weird symptoms that I have experienced over my life, dealing with mono, celiac disease, thyroid disorder, female hormonal issues, and mold illness, of course. Well, I printed out a list because my symptoms are, I have that many. Like, I have a list, and I keep a list because it's good to just track your progress along the way, right? So I have some that I've had all my life, some that I've had in the last 10, 15 years, and then some that are new from the past couple of years. And that I would feel is probably due to the mold toxicity, because a lot of them were weird, but I will get to that in a minute. Last night I decided to go through my phone to see and just remind myself of how I've either improved or gotten worse over the last few years, because if you're anything like me, and I know you are because everyone does it, when we have weird issues, we take pictures. At least I know I do. So I'm thinking that you two probably do the same thing. So I went through my phone, and I might even share a few with you, just because maybe you'll be able to relate and we can chat about it as well. This is your notice now. If you're a bit squeamish or don't like to talk or hear about gross symptoms, it won't be too bad. I'll take it easy on you, but just maybe this video might not be the right one for you. But if you like to and appreciate hearing somebody else's experience about the symptoms they have, then this might be very, very helpful to you, because I know when I hear other people's stories, it truly does help me. So I hope this will do the same for you. Another thing before I do that is, when I talk about symptoms, for me, it means something that either gives you pain, discomfort, that kind of affects how you go about your daily life. So whether you're dealing with infections, health conditions, disease, something, it has to obviously make you feel uncomfortable in order for it to be a symptom, right? So anything that I'm going to share, it's because it affected my daily life, and it takes a toll on us, because sometimes we don't realize how many things we deal with on a daily, weekly, yearly basis anyways. But then when you write them down, you're like, wow, like there's so many things that are possibly not normal, right? So I will share a few with you. Some, again, like I said, I've had all my life, some I've had for many years, and then some of them are new and more recent. So I will grab my list, and I know a lot of these by heart because, of course, I've been dealing with these problems and issues and symptoms. So from what I remember as a kid, going way, way, way back, it was definitely fatigue was number one on my list. Always tired, sore legs, and my parents did tell me that I would always complain about having sore legs, and that's something that always I've always had, but being sporty and active, walking a lot, jogging, running, using my legs actually did help that. So I think that really helped me. Aches, pains were just also always consistently something that was present. And I'm going to take my list out because once I was living on my own and dealing with things as an adult, more symptoms surface, probably because then you're dealing with more daily stresses, right? You're in charge and responsible of your being. So I feel like any added stress, definitely, I always felt like I had a sore neck, and like I hear it from the Lyme community, that like crackling sound that you hear when you move your neck, and even like the stiffness that you eventually build up over time. And that's always been there for as long as I can remember too. Cold extremities, hands freezing cold, your feet as well just can never warm up. I think that is relating to the thyroid. Once your thyroid reaches a certain point of dysfunction, that affects how your body temperature regulates itself. Numbness. Numbness was something that really affected me 20 years of age and on, to the point that working at a computer, I always thought I had like carpal tunnel or something, but eventually with sports and everything else, I always had the numb, burning, achy wrists and arms. And then eventually with competitive dragon boat, we're paddling, we're pulling water. I just, you kind of maybe attribute it to doing all these sports, but it wasn't that, because once I stopped all those things, I still experience it to the point that when I'm lying down in bed or sleeping, I would wake up, my arms would be completely numb. Like it would almost hurt to try to like wake them up again. But eventually I got the circulation going again and I could feel them. I got a little bit of that in my feet, but not as much. It was definitely bad in my arms. When I had babies, my circulation was definitely weirder. And I remember after the birth of my first son, when they tried to hand me my baby, I was like, I can't hold him. Like I really couldn't hold him because I couldn't feel my arms. And that got worse and worse and worse. I tried acupuncture, cupping, different things, but I mean, at times it probably did get a little bit better, but it never fixed itself. I think it might have improved a little bit once I watched what I was eating and eliminated the foods that were causing me problems, but it's not always about food, but food has a lot to do with it. I would say that my numbness lately has not been too bad. It's been way worse before, but it seems to be under control. But that is one issue that has caused me a lot of pain, and to the point that I was even at times wearing braces at night, but it's not as bad now. So that's a lot better. So we talked about headaches and migraines and brain fog in another video, but that is definitely, when you think of the head, headaches, migraines, brain fog, concentration, loss of memory, even sometimes swollen neck, that I've had many times too, just like sore. I don't know if it's like lymph nodes or your glands or even your thyroid, but that is something that I've experienced a lot too. And of course, TMJ, lockjaw, sore jaw, that was definitely a big part of my life too, that caused me a lot of pain in my head, headaches, and it affects your daily life, right? If there's so much pain just from here on up, you can't work, you can't be productive. So it was definitely challenging. One thing that happened from here up is eye pain a few years ago. And now I think I know that it's related to the mold toxicity, but mostly in the fall time, I would tend to eat more apples, and maybe I'm around more allergens because I'm outside in nature, but my eyes would flare, and especially my right eye, to the point, and that I have pictures, but it was so red. It felt like I had like sand in my eye, and it was so painful. Eye drops would actually make it worse. So I think hopefully maybe once I figure out the toxicity or the mold, if I can detox that and I feel better, I will know that potentially that's what caused it. But if I got my vision checked, my vision was actually okay. There was nothing that looked abnormal other than the appearance of my eyeball. It was horrible. It looked like I was, anyways, I'll show you some pictures so you'll understand, but that is better now. But in the fall, it was very inflamed and painful. So if we go down, let's say chest, neck down, being a woman, a lot of PMS symptoms, but something I've been experiencing in the last few years is like sore boobs just before my period. And sorry guys if you're watching this and if it weirds you out, but it's painful to the touch, to the just everything, and this can last for 1 to 2 weeks. And even to the point that, block your ears if you don't like hearing things like this, but nipple discharge. It's kind of like pus. It's just a little bit, but it's weird. It's not normal. I think, I don't know, it can be normal for some, but I've never had that before. But the thing is, my boobs would hurt so much that it felt almost like when I was breastfeeding babies, and I am not breastfeeding babies. So that's a little bit weird. So it could be hormonal, or I'm not too sure, but if that improves, eventually I can tell you what helped and maybe why I think I was getting that. And then rashes. I talked about a little bit of the rashes that I would experience when eating certain foods. Rashes they don't hurt, but they're hot. You feel different, and it just makes you feel uncomfortable, but it's not really something that causes you pain. It's just uncomfortable. I went down, but we have to talk about hair loss. Losing hair when you have thyroid issues or hormonal issues is a very common thing. Lots of hair loss, and at some point it would grow back, and I'm probably in a phase that I've been consistently losing a lot of hair. And I mean, I might look like I have a lot of hair, but I had double this a few years ago. And yeah, so I actually cut my hair the other day because in the last few videos my hair is a little bit longer, but I chopped off a few inches, and that makes it feel a bit better. But you have to find what is causing your hair loss. And for me, I'm sorry, but I think it's coffee. Coffee and caffeine does not help with your adrenals or even your hormones. And that kind of puts everything out of whack. So I know that when I do not drink any caffeine, my hair loss is probably a little bit not as significant. So something to think about if you are experiencing that and it's making you sad or uncomfortable or just self-conscious, just something to consider. Inflammation, lots of inflammation. For me, I find it's more noticeable in my like belly area and my legs. My legs is probably where I see and notice and feel the most inflammation. I've talked about my carpal tunnel or numb hands, but I've also had swollen hands or feel like my fingers have like arthritis. I've got so many, it's like you even forget what you have. Oh, let's talk about digestion and constipation or diarrhea. I'm never great. I'm always one extreme or the other. I can never find a happy place, and if I find what works, it never really lasts that long because then I'm always trying a different supplement to help me with something else, and then it kind of just affects how I get rid of poop. So I think many of you will be able to relate with that because that's probably something, it's important to go to the washroom, and if you don't go normally, it's frustrating. If you're going too much or you're not going at all, it affects your mood 100%. That is for sure. At times I was even told I had appendicitis, and I got x-rays and CAT scans, all for the technician to tell me that I had compacted bowels. I was basically full of poop. But what if you can't get rid of it, right? So it's been definitely interesting to figure out what works. And yeah, lots of fiber, water, all these things. Drink coffee. Yeah, you drink coffee. It's great for your bowels, but it's not good for anything else. Eat fruits, eat vegetables. Don't eat fruits. Don't. Anyways, it can be very, very overwhelming. And not everybody wants to take drugs or something that contains ingredients that you might not necessarily agree with in order to help you go to the washroom. It's always better to find natural remedies, I think, in that department for sure. In the last few years, I can't say that I've ever experienced being anxious. I've been a nervous person, I think, throughout my life, but I had never really experienced anxiety or even like heart palpitation until the last, I would say, year or two, maybe 3 at most. It got really bad probably 2 years ago, and even worse again in the fall when everything seemed to be flaring for me. The scary part, I think, is just when your body is overwhelmed with everything and you do feel anxious, it's hard to calm everything down. But now I'm getting better at controlling my environment as best as I can in order to feel my best. It's not easy because you kind of end up, you do feel isolated at times because you might not go out as much, or you might not see as many people, or you might not be as busy as before, because everything that causes you fatigue or just anything that's out of your normal routine will cause you to be more tired, and then eventually little things trigger you, and it could eventually become anxiety and or much more. I don't think I've ever been a depressed person. The only time I get really discouraged is when I am flaring and I feel like death and everything's going wrong. It's really hard. But you know what? As soon as I feel better, then it goes away. So I know I'm pretty sure that I've never really felt depressed to the point of needing medical help and or drugs in order to figure that part out. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I've changed how I live, how I eat a lot, like drastically in the past 5 years. I'm probably forgetting a whole whack of symptoms, but when you fill out the Lyme questionnaire, when you want to get tested for Lyme, I had every symptom on that list. And you know what? I can share a link to it because maybe you'll be able to relate, but except for 1 or 2 that I've had shakiness in my past, but not to the point that it's always. Some people feel that like shakiness all the time. Or just like even, how do you call it? Not tremors or just, yeah, I don't think that's been something common with me. I've had chest pains to the point that you like feel like something weird is not normal. And I've actually felt that same feeling in my brain or my head. It's not always, but again, sometimes you just feel like that's normal, so you kind of ignore it. But I do write it down because it's not something that is super normal. Skin, let's talk about skin. I've got lots of pictures about skin. When I flare, I get really weird. I don't know if it's acne, but also on my neck. And that could be thyroid related, could be hormonal. And the last few years, I even feel like I think it's called melasma, when your skin gets darker. And people say they get that when they are pregnant, but I haven't had a baby in many years. So I don't know what was causing that, but definitely I have some pictures I'm sure that I will be able to show you. Recently, again, in the fall when I was flaring, probably at my worst, I became super sensitive to light, sensitive to smells, sensitive to noises. I even feel at times like if I'm in a room with a lot of electronics or even like just the overload of EMFs going through my house, I can feel it. And I know that could probably make sense. When you go outside and away from everything, you do feel better. And when you're in nature and disconnected, you feel better. So definitely when you're flaring, just eliminating as much of those electronics. And if you have scented things in your house, get rid of it. Like I don't have Oh, anyways, I don't want to, like, even things like essential oils, I can't smell them. I can't tolerate them. It's just makes me want to be sick. Noise. I still today am sensitive to a lot of noise. And I don't think that was ever an issue before, but at night I just need to be calm in order to relax, to fall asleep. Oh, my family's all here and everyone's like super loud. It gets to be too much, and I try to like go away. I even have a picture of me and I'm wearing like, those like noise blocking headphones. They're not connected to anything. They're just like noise reducers. And yes, I will do that at times just to be in a better, calmer state. The weirdest symptom lately is tinnitus. I think that's how it's called, when you feel like you're ringing in your ears, or you just, I would experience that, when you're younger, you go to a bar, you come back home and you're lying in bed, you can hear that ringing in your ears. Well, now that's a symptom that I experience constantly. It's there throughout the day, but I definitely notice it more at night. And that's something that at first I actually wasn't really sure what it was until somebody pointed it out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I have that. And it's always there. Like right now I can hear it. It's just like it's like a zzz sound, but it's always there. And at night it's very prominent. Like so I do sleep with a fan. I don't know if it's the best thing to do, but it does help kind of block out some of that extra noise. Another symptom, I'm kind of like jumping all over the place. I'm sorry for that. This is not a scripted video, so I'm trying to like just retell some of my experiences, but sinus infections. I had a lot of problems when I was pregnant with 2 of my pregnancies. My sinuses would get really bad, and I always attributed to being pregnant, which is probably the case, but I have had in the fall again super bad sinus infections. For at least 2 of them, I know I took antibiotics because it was like unbearable. It was very painful, but then you wonder, is it allergies or was it actually me just reacting to, again, the toxins in the air, which could be allergens. But anyways, I think it's just an overload, and it really, really hurts. It gives you a headache, but it's not the same kind of a headache as a migraine, but it's very painful nonetheless. Who else has frequent urination? Like I'm always peeing. I swear to God. Yes, I drink a lot, but I'm always peeing. I probably pee 20 to 30 times a day, and I am not exaggerating. A good day would be probably for most, I don't know, 5 times a day, but oh my goodness, that would be awesome if that was my case. But I'm probably not as bad as before, but definitely it's a lot, and it's kind of frustrating. So imagine that along with constipation and or diarrhea. I mean, it's you're spending a lot of time in the washroom. When we're talking about abdominal issues or bloating or sore bellies, oh my goodness, and or weight gain, weight loss, I have my average weight that I'm comfortable with, and I have gone way below that, easily by 10 pounds, and now I'm at my highest weight that I've ever been in my life. It's not overweight at all, but it's a little bit uncomfortable. I'm 10 to 15 pounds more than I would like to be for my frame and what I feel my optimal best. And when you lose a lot, when I lost a lot of weight, it was definitely due to diarrhea, like just always in the washroom. I couldn't eat anything. I was always in the washroom, and that was in 2015. And I was probably the smallest I had ever been. Or if I get super constipated, if you can't go to the washroom, well, guess what? You're bloated, you're packing on the pounds, but it's not necessarily from the foods you're eating. It's just from the extra poop you're storing in your body. So that's a little bit discouraging and frustrating too. I will be trying, and I know I'm not going to talk about remedies or specific supplements or medicine, but I'm at the point where I'm ready to try like enemas. And I know some people would say, oh, that's so gross or whatever, but you know what? When you get to the point where you just can't push the poop out, you're going to try something. Anyways, I'm almost ready to try that. So if I do try it, if you want to know, I can tell you how it goes. And yeah, anyways, we'll talk about that in a separate video. Did I forget something? Like, I mean, a lot of people, I think I have a skin that is reactive enough, sensitive to, I'm trying to think of, like, I know I can bruise easily, but at the time, like when I was younger, I feel like I could heal fast enough too, but I feel like as I am aging, getting hurt, like an injury, takes longer to heal, but I think that can be normal. I've definitely noticed a change in my muscle tone, and because I am not exercising as much, and my bones, that's something I would like to do in the near future, but test the quality of my bones and to see if there's any changes, like even some bad progression, because I feel like even that's changed a lot. Have we left anything out? And then of course there's always like being swollen. I've woken up in the morning and my face is swollen. I don't remember which side is what it was, but my eyes have often been very, very swollen eyelids. My body, as far as being swollen, hasn't really happened, but definitely my face, quite noticeable at times. I think I always thought that when you have swollen eyelids, it was because of like thyroid issues, but I read that when you have mono, if it flares up again, your EBV, having swollen eyelids, puffy face, swollen neck can be a sign of that, but I am not a doctor, so I can't say that for sure. But it's always important to kind of like try to investigate if it's an abnormal symptom that just happens to pop up one day. Feeling dizzy, passing out, that's also been something that I've had all my life. Is sometimes at church it would happen a lot. I always thought it was the air in the church, but I always felt dizzy, like just I wanted to pass out. If I went shopping, I often felt that way too. In a moment of stress or worry, like if there was an accident, and I'm concerned for a person's well-being, I've passed out as well. Sometimes I don't know what it is, but anyways, it's just really weird. I go numb. I start to like black out, get all sweaty and clammy at the same time. Definitely that's been something I've had to deal with. And the last time it happened was again in the fall. I went for a walk. I was trying to do one long walk per week. A long walk would be like an hour, up to an hour. And at the end, I was feeling really hot and I was not feeling well, to the point that I had to call my husband and kids to come and pick me up, because I was far enough from home that I don't think I would have made it without actually passing out. And that's frustrating, because, you know, you like to be a proud person and just be independent and do your own things. But then eventually when your health affects, or your symptoms affect how you go about your days, it's overwhelming. It's frustrating. As far as my body, I'm lucky enough, I am not dealing with like being in a wheelchair, because some people with Lyme disease have it way worse. Even Epstein-Barr virus, I've heard that people that have it all the time, or it just doesn't go away, they can eventually have problems with walking and moving around. And I'm sure if you've been misdiagnosed with MS, thinking you have MS or lupus or anything else, eventually, again, it affects your whole body, and it could eventually affect the fact if you can walk or not, or get out of bed in the morning. I'm always stiff, sore, but no matter how much I move, exercise, I've always dealt with that. But again, it's something that's normal for me. I'd rather be sore from having done sports and exercise than just being sore for being sore. I know I'm probably going to forget so many symptoms. Hip pain, knee pain, foot pain, just name it. Like, when you're dealing with chronic illness, it's very normal for you to experience things throughout your body and experience symptoms, many of them in a day. If you can go one day without experiencing one symptom, I think that's pretty good. But on average, everybody has something every day, right? I would think that that is to be expected, but it shouldn't be to the point that it gets in the way of your daily life. So I feel like I'm saying a little bit of a sermon here, but I'm just here because, again, if I share my story, it might give somebody else some insight on what maybe they are going through. I know I'm forgetting something. There's just so many things that have brought me to the point where I'm at now. But anyways, if this was helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. As I get better, I hope I get better, and as I experience certain things, I would like to share my progress with you. And at the same time, I feel like it's going to be a good place for me to come back and watch once in a while, even for myself, because I forget, I truly do. If I wasn't writing stuff down, I do forget what I go through. And as people have questions for me, I'm sure I'll be able to create more videos, maybe more specifically to certain topics. But this was a very wide and weird range of symptoms. Anyways, I wish you a great day, and I will definitely see you in the next video. Bye for now.